And the title of my thesis is the usage of structural modeling approach for analysis of business process modeling diagrams. The success of an enterprise relies on a properly and timely executed business processes. And due to great variety of vendors in the market, customers may switch from one vendor to another if some expectations regarding service level are not met. And usually these switches are happening due to poorly executed business processes, like slow delivery or long order processing and so on. So this shows that there is a need for improving business process efficiencies, redesign existing business processes, and since business is changing rapidly, also the business processes must be developed rapidly. And this forces problem domain experts to study business processes. At Riga Technical University, there is developed a structural modeling approach, which so far has been used to model and analyze technical systems, but this approach has not been used for analysis of business process modeling diagrams. And therefore, the hypothesis of this thesis is that it is possible to use a structural modeling approach to analyze business processes. And the main objective of this thesis is to apply structural modeling approach for analysis of business process modeling diagrams and to determine if new knowledge about business processes can be acquired. The tasks which were stated for this thesis are to study annotation of systems and the process of systems modeling, to study the life cycle of business process management and of course the phases which are in this life cycle, to study the structural modeling approach, because this is the main approach which is used in this thesis, study the possibilities of creating a universal mapping between different business process modeling standards, perform transformation of business process models into models used in structural modeling, and perform structural analysis of business processes which were chosen for this master thesis, and of course at the end analyze the results. So, a system is a set of interrelated elements which work together in order to achieve a desired or particular goal. And typically, any system will include elements which are linked together by relationships, elements has attributes, and any system produces output from a given input by performing some process. And models are basically a simplified versions of real systems, and this is achieved by reflection and reproduction of important system factors. And models usually are being created to gain new knowledge about the system under study. And models can be expressed in many different ways, like diagrams, prototypes, or in natural language. The business process model are representation of business processes of an enterprise. Usually it is expressed in form of diagrams for purpose of business process improvement or business process automation by means of ICT resources. And actually in business, modeling is pretty widely used, and the typical examples of modeling for business purposes are enterprise modeling, functional modeling, and business process modeling. If you look at the definition of business process, you will notice that it is pretty similar to the definition of a system. A business process is a set of interrelated activities within an enterprise by executing which it is possible to get to the desired result. And business process management lifecycle includes these 6 activities: analysis and design, implementation, monitoring and enhancement, and evaluation phases. The most important phases for this thesis are design, because in this phase the process model is being created. And of course, analysis and evaluation phases are also important, because in these phases requirements for design phase are being created. So, if by applying structural modeling approach some new knowledge will be gained, so this will impact requirements for design phase. And business process models are usually created by using a particular business process modeling standard. And there exist really many of them. And however, for this thesis, I chose those 2. It's event-driven process chain, chains, which is widely used during the implementation of SAP enterprise resource planning systems, and business process modeling notation. This standard is pretty widely used in business process management. Both of them are based on graph-based formalism, so these are good examples for checking if a structural modeling approach can be applied to analyze these, because the structural modeling approach is also based on graph-based or graph theory. And the main elements of both are pretty similar, so they include events, activities or tasks which are linked together by control flows, and this is pretty similar to system elements. Structural modeling is a method of system study with emphasis on qualitative aspects of a system, such as determining the most important elements within a system and to check what will happen if some elements will be turned out. Mathematically, it is based on graph theory, and originally it is used to model and analyze complex technical systems. It is developed here at Riga Technical University, and actually, so there is two types of structural models. It's a morphological structural model, which is used to describe structural elements of a system, and functional structural model, which consists of two models. And this model is used to describe behavioral aspects of a system. So, and this division is that the functional structural model in functional space is used to model system functions in normal functioning conditions. And the functional structure model in parameter space, it is used to model parameters of system functions, and this model can be used to diagnose some faults in a system functioning. So these models support the structural inference. So within the models there is a significant amount of information, and to extract this information we can use structural analysis, which consists basically of two parts. Qualitative analysis, which allows to determine the most important elements within a system structure, and quantitative analysis, which allows to determine the best possible variant of system structure from several possible variants. However, to use this structural modeling approach, it is required to transform business process models into the models used in structural modeling. Therefore, I suggest to perform three-step transformation. Its first step is to create a unified mapping between business process modeling elements. Later to this mapping, also other standards of business process modeling can be added. So the second one is to assign unified names to business process model elements. This will reduce the level of ambiguity, because instead of multiple terms, only one term will be used to describe a particular item. And the third is to determine if a particular element is important for structural modeling, and map these unified elements to MSM elements. And this will be discussed in details. So transformation rules are as follows. So active elements or activities are transformed into objects of morphological structural model. Passive elements like organizational units, supporting systems, and assignments are not included into morphological structural model. And events are either included or not included into morphological structural model based on transformation rules for events. And these transformation rules are as follows. So start events are transformed into objects of MSM, with the exception that the start event is not triggered by a message from other pool, like in the case B here. So this start event is not triggering the entire business process, so it's not required to include it as an input. So the second rule states that end events are transformed into output objects of morphological structure model if and only if previous element is a logical operation, in case B here, here, and here. And in case A, you see that the function produces the final output, and it is not required to create this artificial element. However, if there is logical operation, then it is not correct to say that this task produces the final output. It could produce the final output based on logical operation. And the third rule states that intermediate events should not be included into morphological structure model,